Hail, hail, welcome back to Room 1-on-1 from the Homeboys. And we're not actually one-on-one today as I present two guests this evening. But in a week when Scotland celebrate one of their best achievements in an age, things in the world Celtic continue to be tumultuous. No manager, club in the mess, on and off the park, a support disenchanted and looking for answers with a board and owner in fucking denial. An AGM in the horizon, things have taken a murky turn again, seemingly instigated at the club's behest. So to chat about the latest developments, I am delighted to have Mac and Martin from the Green Brigade. Well, lads, how are we?
Good, mate. How are you?
Aye, well, I'll tell you after the morning.
I suppose it's another day in paradise, I support in Celtic for us.
Fucking murder, innit? So as I say, we're 9 months down the line after a memorable game in Munich, and we're in a position that, honest to fuck, just seems unbelievable, and in my opinion, massively avoidable. But to the point, in the recent game, Falkirk versus Celtic at Celtic Park, an event happened that night, which has in turn led to a series of actions. So, in case anybody doesn't know, do you want to kind of use a wee timeline of what's happened, Mark?
Aye, but I mean, I'm supposed to give an accurate timeline. You need to start before that Falkirk game because there's a sort of context to what happens at Falkirk, obviously. What we're seeing at the moment is the boards very much in conjunction with the police. They are pouncing on a rather trivial incident at that Falkirk match to try and push aside the Green Brigade in particular, but in general, the dissent amongst the Celtic support against the board. And there's obviously different agendas coming together there in terms of the police and the Celtic board, but what they're doing in conjunction and cooperation with each other is really trying to seize on an opportunity there to really attack the Green Brigade and cause a little bit of disharmony and division amongst the Celtic support and in particular the Celtic fans collective. But the pretext and the context to that is very much rooted in what was going on in the summer transfer window, the development of the Celtic fans collective. You also have to remember that at that Falkirk match, which I think a lot of people have forgotten about, before the game, there was the protest outside, which was one of the largest ever seen at Celtic Park. Also, Dermot Desmond was at the game, so he's there whilst there's this protest. He's then at the game and he's hearing chants against him and against the Celtic board. A lot of that coming from the Green Brigade section. So I think when he hears that there's been this incident, then he's very much rubbing his hands, and his board together with the police, they've saw an opportunity there to really pounce on and cause a bit of disharmony and division there.
It's all fair. I mean, you're right. It's funny when you think about how you have to go all the way back. To bring it back to football, we all knew Celtic had one qualifier this summer, and all we wanted from them was to be prepared. And no matter what you think about Brendan Rodgers, I think in time we've all kind of came across. Brendan Rodgers is a bit of a dick. I mean, I think we all fucking knew that. But the fact we let the summer happen. We let it. We done it on purpose. We let it happen. We fucked off the manager who, at that point, we were all into, and it ultimately led to the collective. Martin, I'm going to bring you in there. I had to mute you there because you were going to be a bit of feedback. But see, with regards to the collective, I mean, yes. The collective really is. It's been a long time coming, isn't it?
I'm glad you said that because I was going to say the same. There's probably a sort of a common misconception that the collective was a result of the sort of summer transfer window. There's an element of truth in that was the catalyst, but this has went on a long time. Whether you want to look at summer transfer window, or even the January transfer, or even recruitment as a whole. Fans have been disenfranchised for a number of years. There's other issues which go over and above that in terms of the state of the stadium, their engagement with supporters, their complete lack of ambition, and it all sort of came together at the end of August, the start of September. So I think it's important to acknowledge that was the sort of catalyst that brought us all together. It's been something that's bubbled away for years and years. And what we've seen is a coming together like nothing that I remember in my lifetime.
Definitely, the Kyrat game. The Kyrat game, it's mad that you kind of need, generally, and we had Jeanette on last week, and we were talking about how the Celtic trust is generally its strongest when Celtic's at its weakest. But even then, as you just said the other night, I've never seen a collection of Celtic. I mean, we were all in the room that first meeting in Grace's, and whilst the anger was all there was a big fucking great bit of hope in that room that we could all make a change, that we could actually come together and push something. But Celtic being fucking Celtic, and Mark, I'll bring you back in. Oh, sorry, Martin, we'll go with you because you were in the room. But Celtic opened the door because we're kicking the door, and they've eventually opened the door and they've let us in to speak to them. You were there that day, and they basically treated like fucking rats. And to be honest, that meeting now just seems like an absolute waste of time. Would you think?
Aye, sorry, I just realised that there's sound issues. Hopefully this is better. Put on my AirPods. But aye, listen, see that day at that meeting. So I've met the club over the years for different things as part of the Green Brigade. But I felt getting into that that this was maybe a sort of a watershed, a sea change. They were going to come in, we were going to get in there, and they were going to offer us something sort of relatively monumental, whether that would be some sort of new fan engagement model, fan advisory board, whether they were going to tell us there was going to be structural personnel changes. I had that on my head. I'm walking in thinking, this is massive. This is going to be good for the fans and for the club as a whole. And what we got was just complete disrespect, mate, to be honest. Everything's fine. We're doing a great job. What the fuck he's moaning about? And I was astounded, to be honest. And then you look back and you reflect and you think about the people that it is that you're dealing with, and you're almost embarrassed that you expected anything else in the first place.
Yeah. I've said it often and up, and I think you kind of agree with me when I say this, but it was good that there was other people in the room. There was fan media in the room. There was guys that maybe thought that going in and shaking a hand and being, I mean, like I told you about the guy I was listening to a podcast, and he says, see, the collective have got to be respectful. And I'm sitting there going, whilst there's a whole lot of people in this room and within this group who have been respectful and have been disrespected, I think it was good that a bigger proportion of people saw what these people are like. Would you think, Mark?
Aye, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm similar to Martin in the respects of I've been in that environment for a long time, over so many different occasions. So I've had similar styled meetings with Michael Nicholson, with Chris Mackay, with the rest of them. So you kind of get into these with an idea of what to expect, and there's really nothing that they could say or do which would really surprise me now, to be honest with you. Maybe a little bit different to Martin in terms of I wasn't expecting an awful lot from that meeting. I've got a really low opinion of Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay, and I really didn't expect much to come from that. But it was refreshing to have other people sort of fresh to that environment, to see them firsthand at face value, to see how incompetent they are and how severely lacking in basic sort of like communication skills, like the complete inability to hold a room of Celtic supporters, the lack of authority in which they can speak as senior leaders of our football club is quite astonishing. that they're in that position, and they have been for the length of time that they have, and they're such lacking in like basic skills you would expect of people in those positions.
Yeah, I just jump in there. So
go
Scott,
ahead.
sorry, how many times were in that room? Maybe 19, 20 Celtic fans in that room. And I don't think, and for all sort of different profiles of fan, all sorts of ages, male, female, people in their 60s, 70s, people in their 20s, 30s, not one person left that meeting thinking that was anything other than diabolical. Nobody gave them the benefit of the doubt. Nobody thought, oh, it wasn't that bad. Every single person left that meeting almost in shock at how amateur and out their depth those guys were.
Before we batter on to kind of what's happened recently, I mean, you boy, I said, Martin, I know you listen to the pod and all that. Saying I say my usual listeners have heard me saying it, but just kind of because we're sitting talking about it. To me, it's kind of bewildering, right? That Celtic want to treat us like customers in terms of bringing out fucking jersey after jersey, putting the prices up every fucking time there's a demand, right? They want to treat us like customers, but in this world, they're not treating us like customers in like any other business. Like, I mean, if there's complaints are dealt with. It seems that if you complain to Celtic, you're pissing up an alley, really, isn't it? It's mental the way they treat us.
Well, it's because if you go to a shop, if you're going buying Adidas trackies all the time and you know you get a shite service for Adidas, you just move on to something else.
Yeah,
They know
yeah.
that they know you can't
Got us.
they've got you. You can't just move on to another football club. We all love Celtic, we all love the club, and we're never really going anywhere. And they absolutely prey on that emotional attachment that each and every one of us have got.
The thing that's galling me is that Celtic family pish. That's ripping me apart now. See if I fucking hear can't say Celtic family again, I'm gonna bust them, you know what I mean? But so things have kind of took a somewhat murky's fucking understating, I think. Things have taken a fucking dark turn recently. Now, the club have seemingly appointed a whole load of, after the Bernard Higgins things of last couple of years, the club have kind of seemed to appointed people that I don't know the best way to describe it. Maybe you can talk about it, Matt. Who's these guys that the Celtic have brought in?
So in the summer there, a guy called Mark Hargreaves joined Celtic as the head of safety, security and operations. So essentially in layman's terms, that makes him the head of security at Celtic. So he's in charge of all the security operations, the stewarding, the policing plans, in general kind of health and safety things. Everything of that nature falls within his remit. He'll have a fairly large team under him, obviously working within that remit as well. But it's a very senior position. He's part of the sort of senior leadership echelons of the football club. He's obviously not a director, but he's perhaps the sort of next level down. He's certainly taken very seriously with the board. I would suggest that he was very much selected by people on the board, similar to Bernard Higgins. When it comes to these positions, it's very much who you know, and it's like select picks. I wouldn't for 1 minute expect there was any sort of fair recruitment process going on there. So he's came in the summer, fresh out of position in Police Scotland. And I think that's really important to remember because unlike somebody like Ronnie Hawthorne, who was his predecessor, who was in that position, the same position at Celtic for, I don't know, over 10 years at least. So certainly for ourselves and similar supporters or supporters in similar circumstances, dealing with somebody like Ronnie Hawthorne, he was at least out of the police for quite a substantial amount of time. His activity within the police would not have overlapped with anything to do with us directly, but that certainly can't be said for somebody like Mark Hargreaves, which is a concern for us because he's obviously been involved in police operations directly against us. He'll have his own ideas and knowledge and perhaps intelligence related to us and other Celtic supporters. And I've got no doubt in my mind that he'll be using that within his position at Celtic Football Club, which I think is really concerning and unfair and perhaps even unlawful in some regards. And then to take that even further, we recently became aware of another ex-police officer, a guy called Brian Kelly, who again recently appointed, recently retired from Police Scotland. He was actually a football intelligence officer. So his remit within Police Scotland was to surveil Celtic supporters. In particular, you're talking the Green Brigade and boys and perhaps anybody else who might associate with those groups. So his day-to-day job is essentially building profiles on young Celtic supporters, gathering intelligence on them, on their families, using that to build cases to target Celtic fans and try and sort of help cases to push towards criminal convictions. And then now he's being employed by Celtic, as far as I understand, his role is to review CCTV. So to help Celtic basically investigate potential incidents, any sort of alleged wrongdoing. And once again, I've got absolutely no doubt that he's going to be resting on his previous knowledge, the intelligence and information he's built over his previous years in Police Scotland, doing that role. And what is undeniably true for both of these people is that they've obviously got existing networks within Police Scotland.
Yeah.
So they'll be liaising with their buddies in Police Scotland to share information about us and other Celtic supporters as and when they feel is necessary. And again, they'll be doing it through back channels. These won't be things which will be being recorded through emails or any sort of paper trails or even through phone calls necessarily. They'll be doing this in ways in which it's completely off record and untraceable.
Fucking high. It's amazing, isn't it, that Celtic can keep up to date in some things, isn't it? And it's amazing that we can't keep up to date with fucking board members, but we can keep fucking all these coppers up. Right, well, that kind of leads us into what happened recently. So, as I say, we started off, we were talking about the Celtic Falkirk game. Now, an incident happened at the Celtic Falkirk game. I was in the main stand, never saw anything for that day. But Celtic, an incident happened. I don't know what it is. But Celtic then, what was it, 10 days, 15 days later, released a statement and they banned the group, claiming assaults on stewards and claiming assaults on police officers with no arrests made at the time. Give us a wee bit more information about the allegations and, if you can, how things went down with you guys, Martin.
So I remember it quite vividly. We've got our own. I'm not actually touching that, but essentially there was a clearly something had happened in the concourse, nothing of any sort of major note, and there was sort of kind of mini rush of people going down to make sure everything was sort of all right. People, like, to the point that it was that much of a non-instant that when people left and returned to their seats a minute or so later, everybody was laughing at sort of how ridiculous the whole sort of thing was, and it was sort of brushed off, and everybody kind of forgot about it.
No.
My understanding is that a guy had tried to insure his ticket to a steward and then was asked by a steward while holding water to show it again. And there was, this has been built up over weeks and months of sort of frustration. And there's a bit of fucking, a bit of an argument to and fro. And then words go up to the boys in the section that there was a bit of a situation that developed. Boys in a section down for a nosy. It's that way there's a kind of not a domino effect, like a row goes and another row goes, and then before you know it, a few dozen people have went. And I think by the time most people arrived there, everything had sort of boiled over anyway, and sort of blew over, and people returned back to their seats. We thought kind of nothing of this. Barely even get spoke about, Scott, for 2 weeks. The only time we became aware that there was an issue I got speaking to JP on the Thursday in Midland just before the game, and we're just talking about games coming up and all that sort of stuff. And he says, "Well, there's a bit of a situation developing after the Falkirk game." I said, "What are you talking about? What happened at the Falkirk game?" And then I remembered, I was like, "You're joking me?" And he's like, "No," he's like, "There's a bit of a situation kind of thing developing." So I told the boys that were there, and I put it in the chats and all that sort of stuff that there was something was going down kind of thing. Again, never really thought that much of it, and see 24 hours later, we're all banned and the statements going out, there's fucking videos going out for the club and this, that and the next thing. It happened that quickly. Over, honestly, and the club have sort of quoted us saying it, extremely minor incident.
Can I take you back before we continue on about that, mate? Can I take you back? And I should have mentioned it earlier. So within the North Curb section, you now need to produce your ticket again after coming through the turnstile. You need to produce your ticket again, which was kind of happening anyway. Yeah, it was kind of happening with stewards.
But it's much worse now, Scott.
So now you've actually got a cordon and like a wee gate or something you've got to go through. Is that correct?
Well, when Hargreaves first came in, he literally erected a metal wall, like a fucking massive metal wall. People remember the pictures. It was up for a game,
That's
and
right.
fans ended up kicking up fuck. So they've replaced it with something else, but it's still like a gated sort of blockade. So you need to go through that gate.
And what was the explanation for that?
To prevent overcrowding. You're saying there was overcrowding. So see if you want to go for a pee, you still need to show your ticket to a steward to get through this fucking gate that's in the concourse. And then once you've done your piss, you then need to show it again, getting back away. It's just, listen, see for people who are maybe listening, thinking, what's the big, see when it's constant, you've just showed your ticket and you come back with a couple of waters and you're getting your horns on the free and you're having to fucking, it can be frustrating for people. Maybe people have got wains there or whatever. And it just naturally, somebody at some point was always going to get pissed off. And actually, I'm surprised that it took so long. Important.
Am I right in saying that you guys had kind of intimated to the club that something was going to kick off?
That's what I was just about to say. Importantly, I think after every game, or for several weeks, certainly 5 emails we've went to the club saying people are getting pissed off. This it's not just the Green Brigade, it's people within that sector. You could see it. Other people in the tap end of the sector, other people who won the ultras were getting pissed off, and we kept
my
saying,
mates are back. Yeah.
We kept saying, look, there's a situation's going to develop. This needs discussed. This needs discussed. And we never even get the courtesy of response.
Aye, so there was a meeting with the club back, I think, was it August time, I think, and there was then 5 follow-up emails, no responses. After that, there was the Progressionary Celtic Fans Collective, so we actually stopped with our communication to the club in respect of the collective. We didn't really want to be stepping on any toes there.
Right. Yeah.
But irrespective of that, after every single game, we would just naturally sort of debrief with the SLOs, so John Paul Taylor and Danny. So every single game, we would be having conversations where we would be passing on our feedback, and then they would be passing that back to the security team and board level as well. So there still always were channels of communication. But unfortunately, it just seems like it was landing on deaf ears, which is the recurring theme here constantly. Which leads to all these problems.
I was going to touch on that. I mean, the whole communication within Celtic seemed totally fucking broken now, didn't it, man? I mean, like, we've all heard all summer about fucking agents trying to get hold of them, and we're trying to buy players, and we need to email a fucking director. So you have been put in this position, right? And you've tried to conduct yourself with the board. Now, I hope this doesn't come across as bad as it might sound, but so I've always been an advocate of Celtic having male liaison officers. I think it's a must in today's football. Are we getting the indication that you guys are contacting liaison officer, and is it stopping there, or has it basically been ignored once it comes out his move to the club? What do you think? Because I mean, JP's a fucking top guy, so I'm no one to kind of blade him here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, is aye. The problem with no with JP, the problem with the SLO role is it's consistently undermined. So,
Yeah,
for example, we just talk about that decision 2 weeks ago or whenever it was come back for Midtjylland. JP was completely squeezed out all conversations around that. He wasn't privy to any decision to ban us or anything like that. He wasn't allowed any input, which is fucking completely
That's
absurd.
madness.
It's completely absurd.
I mean,
there is a madness.
Sorry for interrupting there, but even taking today's meeting with the safety advisory group, you would expect that your supporters liaison officer, the person
100%.
with the closest understanding of fan issues, would be part of that meeting, but he wasn't. Why is he not part of that meeting? It's because they don't want him to be part of the meeting. They don't want his contributions. They don't want an objective and fair understanding of the situation and the environment. They're going into these things with predetermined conclusions, essentially.
100%.
They have their ideas and their opinions and what they want the outcome to be, and that's the way it's going to be.
Wild. Right, so we'll get to Celtic release a statement. Yous were banned for 6 games. Now, during that period, Celtic, the first you know about it is you say it's come in the press, boom, yous are banned. Did the club contact any member of yous? Were you given a proper reasoning, a proper right of appeal? Were you given anything like that?
We got
So
an email.
I think.
On you go, Matt.
I think Martin alluded to the fact that he became aware of it when he was over in Denmark for the match. Myself as well, I was also in Denmark, so there's some of us that we become aware through John Paul Taylor that these things are taking motion. So there's never confirmation that anything's actually going to happen, but he'll give some sort of insight as into what he thinks the feeling is or the general direction, as is his job to do. He's the liaison officer. He's supposed to communicate these issues to the supporters. I remember when I landed back at Edinburgh Airport, I've turned my phone back on and I see the news come through, and it's a statement from Celtic saying that they're banned for 6 matches. And I've read a lot of statements from Celtic against the Green Brigade and against other Celtic supporters. I've never seen anything written against Celtic supporters with that tone and with that conviction and aggression, going to the extent of essentially stating as fact what should be allegations. Like they're stating as fact that certain things happened without, as far as I'm aware, any proof or any evidence, and I don't think there ever will be any evidence to back up what they said there. And also the video which they released, which to my opinion shows absolutely nothing. All it shows is that there's a movement of some supporters. They claim they use this figure of 100 as if it's going to shock people. I mean, I'm quite sad in that I've slowed down that video and I've counted bodies. It's not 100 bodies. Believe me, I'm that anal that I like to delve into the detail. I don't think it's even close to 100. And even at that, if you're talking about the movement of those bodies, a lot of them are at the back of the group, so they don't actually get anywhere near the area where there's supposedly been an incident taking place. And even just a sort of minor point to that video which they released, if you think back to it, or if you go back and check it, it's quite interesting that they blur the crowds either side of the standing section. Like, why is that? Like, what is the rationale for blurring some supporters but not other supporters? Do they think that the supporters in that shot are of a lower class, that they deserve more like scrutiny, like and other fans shouldn't be put on that video? I think it speaks to the general mindset and attitude of the people that we're dealing with at that level.
Now, to me, it's quite clear what they're trying to do. However, I'll give you your piece, Martin. I mean, Max already touched on it there. The wording within the statement, I agree wholeheartedly with what you say, but the wording in the statement is very blunt, to the point, very vicious. What are Celtic trying to achieve with the ban? First, the ban and the way they've conveyed it.
Well, what I
In
would
your
say about the
opinion,
statement, what I would say about the statement is Max right, and you're right. And I've never seen anything like that written about Celtic supporters either. However, there was certain similarities about a certain other statement that was released a month previously,
aye,
and I thought
good
that was
point.
quite striking. And I don't think that's where the similarities end. And that will sort of take me on to answering your question. What I think they're trying to achieve is they're trying to effectively squeeze out the Green Brigade. I don't think it's they in the sense that it's, even Chris Mackay or Michael Nixon, although I think they're quite happy with that to happen. I think it's direct instruction for Dermot Desmond. I think that he saw the demo, the size of the collective, the momentum it was gaining, the numbers that turned up to that demo at short notice. He's been at the stadium and heard chants directly against him from that section. As far as I'm aware, probably the first time chants have ever been sang directly about Dermot Desmond.
Yep.
And he's a guy who he doesn't like criticism. He's proved that for many, many years. And he's went to rule with an iron fist. He's tapped into Mark Hargreaves, knowing that he's got a very fresh contact book in the police force and a guy who wants to impress his new boss. And they've just went for it.
Aye, it's very coincidental, isn't it?
It's coincidental, and also, I mean, he's probably couldn't believe his luck when he saw that there was some sort of situation developing that he can pounce upon. But make no mistake, if it never happened at that Falkirk game, he'd have waited to the next sort of situation that developed. He had it in his mind, I think, as he had it in his mind from that night that was it. We needed to be dealt with.
The timing of everything seems deliberate, I think. In terms of when Celtic are releasing statements, they now seem deliberate. They kind of try to cover bad news in a deliberate way. They try to, the statement they flung out after kind of, everything's fine, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. Remember that came out and stuff like that. And if a copper was assaulted, doesn't matter if it was a game, it was in a fucking main state. I'll tell you a fucking wee sides. I got a fucking tin pail when we played Boa Vista at Parkhead for singing Rebel songs, walking up to the game, and a copper got booted in the face. Not after me, I hasten to add. And I was in a cell, and this copper went fucking cell to cell looking for the guy that booted him. So he was going to do something that night. Do you know what I mean? You can't tell me that a copper got assaulted and they're waiting fucking how many? What did you say? What, 2 weeks? A week and a half? Exactly. I mean, there's everything they're doing's kind of pre-planned, it seems. So I'm going to ask you now. It's up to yourselves if you want to talk about it. But I'm going to ask you about the next home game. These are all banned. Yeah, there these are. What was the thinking there?
Look, there's probably a lot of emotion behind it. We've just found out we're banned. We know it's for fucking absolutely fuck all. We know that they're out to get us effectively, and we don't want to miss watching Celtic supporting the team. Bear in mind, it's also within the context of having skipped the game at Hampden, which we kind of put our hands up and says, "Why we Pyros? We'll take it on the chin. We missed the game."
I'm going to stop you there, man. I'm going to stop you there, right? It's something you've said to me in the past, and I think it needs said wider, to be honest. You've said to me in the past, and you've said it within the collective, if we think we've done something and we've crossed the line or we've pushed a we kind of knew we were going to do it and we've been punished, there is a bit of put your hands up. It might not be nice, but put your hands up. Would you say that's correct?
Mate, we've never once said that we're the fucking Green Brigade are angels. Never once. We clearly, there's going to be times where we've pushed the envelope. And when any group or any person does that, there will be times where you're like, oh fuck, maybe we made a cunt of that, maybe we went too far there or whatever. And you kind of just take your medicine, you know what I mean? And you just get on with it and hope that you learn from it and come back from it and do things maybe a wee bit differently. I think things through differently. This time, it's been a fucking complete and utter stitch up. And to sit and say to the boys, right, we're going to take this in the chin and we're going to sit outside and we're going to go and watch it together. It's pish. So I think it was almost unanimous that no, we're fucking going to that game.
Brilliant. Loved that. Aye. No, I mean,
I think the decision there also speaks to how absurd the whole reaction has been to the incident which is taking place at that match. Like, it was such a trivial non-issue of an incident. Like, obviously they've spoke about this police assault, but it's complete bullshit, and I'm absolutely convinced that will be proven over time. Now, unfortunately, what's going to sadly have to take place in the meantime is that some people are going to be arrested. They may have to go to court. It may fall before court, but they're doing that because they have to sort of flex their muscles and try and achieve some sort of like punishment or action against us. But there's absolutely no way in hell that any sort of charge will stand against anybody from that incident that night. It's just complete bullshit. And that was one of the sort of motivating factors behind us thinking, nah, fuck it, fuck them. We're still going to go to this match. And I suppose another thing which was quite interesting as well, which perhaps some people might not consider, is the club likes to speak about the Green Brigade and X amount of people. The club don't actually know who the Green Brigade are. Neither does the police. They don't actually know who are members of the Green Brigade or how many people they are. So, for all they know, in terms of that Kilmarnock match, which we went to, like, how can they say for sure who actually attended that match, who shouldn't have attended the match? Because many of our people actually aren't banned. Many of them have still got working tickets. So I think there's also a little bit of uncertainty there in terms of the language that they're using.
Aye, definite. I was just going to add in, well, you guys know me, I'm kind of pro GB anyway, but I was dying that day, man, and I fucking actually dragged myself to the game even though it was 4:00, and I turned up, and I must admit, he cheered me up. I looked across, and you boys were there. I was like, fucking class. And that was the feeling that all around me. It was all well done name. But anyway, let's get to the point in hand, right? So that happened, and we kind of waited to see what was going to happen. And sure enough, this morning, things took another turn. Now, Martin, you want to tell us what happened this morning?
I'll maybe pass it to Mike at some point now, because I know he was more involved. But in fact, Mike, you spent time with the family and that after, so you're probably better placed to give a picture as to what happened.
So we're talking about the arrests today. Aye, so I was going to say a fairly typical day in the Green Brigade, but I mean, I really shouldn't normalise the situation. But I suppose the sad reality for a lot of us is that it is fairly typical, and because of that, we have sort of like safeguards in place. We've got like communication streams. Our boys are well sort of versed in what to do and who to contact and sort of how to behave. So very quickly, we became aware that there was police activity looking for our boys. The sort of communication channels were in process, and one of our boys was arrested. They put in his front door. There was no attempt to ring the doorbell or knock on the door. They simply just put it in, went up into his house, arrested him, turned the place upside down. His father, who was in the house, suffers from COPD, and they took his mobile phone as evidence, and he protested, saying to them that he's got COPD, he's housebound, and he needs that phone for emergencies and to contact MD if if he needs it, if he's unwell. And they didn't care. They took it anyway. They also took another tablet, which was the only other means that he could use to contact anybody. So they took away one of our boys. They charged him with a breach of the peace. So they've done a dawn raid. They've put in his door. They've turned his house upside down. They've taken away evidence, which is mainly clothes. So mainly like clothes which say Green Brigade on it, and his father's mobile phone. And they've held him for around about an hour, charged him for breach of the peace, and then let him go. So I went over to his house just to see how his dad was doing, because obviously was aware of the situation. And when I've went up into his house, his dad's sitting there freezing in his living room behind a wee electric fire, and he's still pretty shaken up for what's happened. And I've then used my phone to phone the boy's mother, and I've spoke to her, and she's in bits. Obviously very emotional. She's worried about her son who's been arrested. She's worried about her husband who's sitting there. He's not well. He's freezing. And the front door's obviously missing for the house. So it's really quite a traumatic environment and experience certainly for these people, the family members, the mother, the father who are involved in that. And I think that's often what a lot of people don't realise or don't understand because they've never experienced that themselves. And I think that's important to get out to people to understand that like these are real people. These are people who've done nothing wrong. Like even the boy who's been arrested, he's done fuck all wrong. Like literally nothing at all. He's been charged with a breach of the peace. It probably won't even make court. If it does, it'll get flung out anyway. And yet his family and him have been put through this.
Traumatised. I think. Sorry to interrupt. I think you're massively correct. I think that needs to be brought out. People, keyboard warriors, and they just they deserve it. Nobody deserves that unless they've done something. I mean, fuck, see what you just said to me, man. I'm sitting fucking spewing, and I hope people who listen to this are same spewing. It's balls, isn't it? Just your family getting harassed.
I mean, I'm like I've been in this game a long time, like Martin. So, like I was saying earlier, there's no very many things that I'll see or hear or have done to me now, which will really sort of surprise me. But see today, and like having that first-hand interaction with like the father sitting in the house, having to speak to the mother who's in tears over the phone.
Yeah.
Like I was fucking angry, and I'm still angry now. And I'm kind of at the point where I'm looking forward to going to that AGM tomorrow morning because I want to fucking express my anger to that Celtic board. And I hope it's hostile towards that Celtic board tomorrow. Not just for this issue that I'm talking about. There's obviously a much bigger and wider picture. But honestly, I've got a lot of fucking anger in me right now, just purely about what I experienced today and the wider context to that.
I want to put into context before you guys come back in. I want to put into context what you guys have done, right? And I appreciate that a lot of people don't like the GB and they come away with all this. They don't talk for me, pish. And generally, see the people who say that, in my opinion, right? Know that you guys are saying, in my opinion, generally comes with jealousy. Generally comes with all guys who had their day and they still, but they've not yet. That's who I hear. Aye, these fucking young guys think they're talking for me. Know what I mean? Fuck off. The two yous were in Denmark and you come home and you're banned. You're in Denmark spending hundreds of your pound supporting this club, supporting our team, and these fuckers can treat you like that.
That night was probably.
It's got just to jump into the point in Denmark, which I laugh at looking back. It wasn't just the fact that we were in Denmark, but like the sort of wider Green Brigade that went to Denmark, we also took a fucking tifo with us. The boys in Glasgow, obviously before that game, they spent their time painting a banner for that game in Denmark. We've sourced the flags, we've paid for the transport to get it over there. We've spent the time to set it up in the stand before the game.
100%.
And we're doing that not for ourselves, we're doing that for Celtic. We're doing that because we love Celtic and we've got a passion for Celtic which we want to express to the world. Like we're in the highest stage of European football, and we want to showcase Celtic.
Sorry, Matt, you're breaking up there, pal.
Do you know what I mean?
You're breaking up.
Like,
you were
we
getting
want that Celtic team to
look
walk out in the park and to be seeing what's around them and being motivated by that.
No, you were getting to your crescendo and we missed you, Paul.
You end up watching. Well, the aftermath of that, you did a tifo and then you watch us getting fucking pumped anyway.
Yeah. And why are we pumped? Why are we pumped? Because
exactly.
these dickheads won't prepare properly.
So you're then travelling all day the next day with the European hangover, the fucking trains, planes, automobiles and all that. And at the very end of it, you're nearly home and you're getting a fucking email in saying you're not coming back for a few games.
I had Jeanette on last week, and I don't know if you listened to it, but I had Jeanette on last week, and I was saying, as part of the collective, how kind of disillusioned I get with the reaction of Celtic supporters and how they'll support the club no matter what the club are right. Even the club can lie to their face, they'll still fucking love them. And see, when with you boys, you guys are out there supporting your team. You are spending all your own money, and all you want to do is the best for Celtic. And you come back and you get banned, and some Celtic fans are kind of going quite right, and they're believing everything the club's saying over you boys. It's just fucking wrong. It's just really wrong, mate.
It is frustrating, but see, to be honest, it's water off a duck back to me now. There's people who are just entrenched, they don't like it, and that's the way it is. There's times where I'll maybe read comments on Twitter and I'm like, fuck this, why am I even doing this? Like, you're just never going to win those sorts of people over, so you just kind of come to terms with it.
Aye.
I think a lot of people are tired of the sort of the performance, the routine, because it is an annual thing of like the Green Brigade falling out with the club. But I mean, I think if you look at the pattern, it's very much the same in terms of there's something which the club will take issue with the Green Brigade, but they'll then try and look for another reason to attack the Green Brigade and push them aside. So right now, the central issue which they have a problem with is the protests against the board and the wider Celtic fans collective. But they couldn't come down too hard on that alone, so they've had to rely on this other incident to sort of try and sell that to the wider Celtic support or further. And then in 2023, it was the exact same. So their issue in 2023 was the support for Palestine. But it would have been a PR disaster to come down hard on that alone. So they had to concoct or look for and search for these other issues.
Yeah, they done
so I think at the time it was a whole host of sort of antisocial behaviour type issues. But what it was that they were coming for was the Palestine support. 100%. You know what I mean? And it's just the exact same here. And even if you take it further back to like in 2013 when it was a offensive behaviour stuff, and I think it was around about December that year we played AC Milan, and we done a tifo where it compared Bobby Sands to William Wallace, and it was very much making a point against offensive behaviour legislation and how ludicrous it is. And it was then the following match or the week after anyway, it was away to Motherwell. And again, there was some sort of antisocial behaviour at the match, with some seats damaged, and they pounced on that. So the real offence, the real concern for the club, the police, the government at the time was this rising dissent and mobilisation against the legislation and the police and the government. But again, it wasn't the optics of coming after that alone weren't great. They found something else to pounce on, and that's what they used. They banned the Green Brigade at that. Well, Celtic banned the Green Brigade at that point for like 3 months or so, or until the end of the season, I think.
See, the thing is, it's an important point. You've referenced the offensive behaviour at Football Act. So that we're still seeing the remnants of that today. So even guys like Hargreaves and all that, they were serving coppers when this offensive behaviour act was 12 years ago. They've been brought up, and other coppers like him, they've been brought up through a culture that football fans are criminals, football fans are bad, football fans need to be watched. You don't just turn that off like a tap when the bill gets repealed. That culture carries on, and you see it, like I say, we see it every other week, but we see it especially today in terms of how they've reacted with football fans and a guy who's been allegedly guilty of a breach of the peace. We're still seeing the knock-on effect of that all these years later.
I mean, the whole thing is scandalous. The whole set of events is scandalous, and I wholeheartedly agree that this is a stitch-up. And anybody who doesn't think it's a stitch-up, well, they don't want to believe it's a stitch-up. They don't want to believe.
I can't help anybody who's still of that opinion.
100%.
The other thing that's important to note is it's also within the context of the ongoing Fairhurst report. A fucking all-out assault essentially took place in Celtic supporters in March. To this day, 8-9 months on, the club have not said a fucking peep, not a word of condemnation about the police actions that day. And that includes not just the Green Brigade, that includes Waynes that were fucking 8-9 years old. Wee lasses got their first game, who were surrounded by a wall of fucking police officers, a wall of police bands with their sirens. I'd be surprised if they go to another game again. And those cowards in that boardroom have not uttered a fucking word of condemnation or defence or the support. That tells you everything about those people.
They've never really had any balls, have they, to kind of stick up for us? I mean, even you go back to see the I don't know. You remember the Vigo stuff? Remember let's get right back to fucking. Remember that all that happened? And I was there that night. I was in that airport and I saw the stuff. And the only reason that Celtic came out and stood up for us was because Brian Quinn's fucking boy was involved. And it says, and that's what the story was all about, Brian Quinn. Wasn't it about us? Wasn't it about us fucking dickheads standing there getting lamped off these cunts with big fucking batons, you know what I mean? But that's it. I've never known a club to hate their supporters so much as us.
It's fucking ridiculous. So months and months we've waited on something. We've still got fuck all yet. And everybody's seen that. There's plenty of footage, there's plenty of witnesses. Yet here's an incident that's taking place at Celtic Park with no fucking footage, no independent witnesses, yet they've come down like a fucking sledgehammer. People are banned within a matter of days and fucking there's all sorts going on. But we're waiting 9 months for some fucking stupid report which has said absolutely nothing.
And I think we should also remember in terms of the personnel who's now involved at Celtic. So I spoke about this earlier. But these people were either still within Police Scotland at that time or had just left. So I think that's really important to remember in terms of the coordination between Celtic and the police on that day. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that there was coordination. There's absolutely no way that Police Scotland were planning an operation of that size. The scale of it was incredible. It's one of the largest I've ever seen at a football match. And there's no way that they've done that without giving Celtic some form of indication that would take place. Again, it may not have been officially recorded through any formal streams, but they absolutely knew what was going to happen there, and nobody could tell me otherwise.
I don't want to hold you all night, right? I don't want to, but can you give us a wee bit? Because again, I think, honestly, there's a whole big bunch of Celtic fans who don't know anything about what happened that day. If you could just give us a wee quick rundown of what happened and what they done that day, just so we can put some context, because we're talking about it there, and I do think there will be a few people that don't know.
So this is the kettle before the derby in the 16th of March, Aye. So I mean, it was a fairly sort of normal derby whereby we met at the Celtic Supporters Association in London Road. There was a fairly large police presence around it, which is not unusual. but they weren't exactly organised or in our faces. They were very much just letting us gather there, which is fine, kind of to be expected. I can't remember the exact times, but when we started to sort of get together outside the club, move onto the road to then walk to the stadium, that's when they started to surround us. But even at that point, there was no indication that they were doing so to kettle us. I think there was actually communication to us from them suggesting that they were just getting in sort of formation, they were just going to walk us to the ground. And again, a little bit over the top, but not exactly out of the ordinary. We've been in similar situations in the past. After maybe, say, 10, 15 minutes, there was no movement. There was then a suggestion from them that the reason that there was no movement was because there was Rangers supporters ahead and they wanted to get them into the stadium before they then advanced with us. So, again, not ideal from our perspective. We wanted to obviously get to the ground, but wasn't a lot we could do. We would just stand there, we would wait. We would eventually, hopefully, be moving to the stadium. Those 20 minutes pass and people are getting a little bit anxious and agitated at the fact that we're still being held there. It then becomes apparent that we were going to be being held for a little bit longer, but still at this point, no reason being given. By this point, the police have moved into a cordon formation around us, so we're pretty much enclosed on the road, totally surrounded. And then there's the suggestions that we're going to be detained under Section 60, so essentially kettled. And what that legislation means really is that they can search you, they can take your details, and if you refuse to allow that, then you are committing a criminal offence. So at that point, we were very much of the opinion that we'd done nothing wrong, that we shouldn't be being treated in such a way. We shouldn't have to submit ourselves to a full body search and give over our personal details just to walk the short distance from where we were to Celtic Park to attend a football match. So we refused as a sort of collective decision at that point. We stood our ground. They then held us there for 5 to 6 hours, at which point there were various sort of threats that they were going to start moving into the crowd. I think at that point they'd actually already tried to take out some people. And then the game had actually ended by that point. So like you had other Celtic supporters passing by. And I think we'd sort of had enough at that point and we decided, fuck this, we want out of here. So we submitted to the search and given our details just to escape from that kettle after almost 6 hours.
6. I mean, I remember it happening at the time, man. I actually think you might have come on the show just after it happened.
Aye. I might come on and talk about something positively one day.
Fucking hell, man. But no, see when you hear it back again, man, it's just
Mate, again, it's just like that day it was just bonkers, man. Like some fucking good Samaritan came with a big crate of iron brew or something for everybody that was held there to should get something to drink. The coppers took it off them, saying that they might use that as weapons. Like it was just fucking like it's mental, man.
We actually had a load of guys over from Cyprus and also France for the match. So I think there was like 15 guys for Cyprus and maybe 5 for France. So they were part of that as well, and they were absolutely amazed at the police operation for that. So I mean, these are guys who have seen a few battles themselves with the police, but they couldn't believe what happened that day. And that was their experience of the derby. They were looking forward to this world famous derby, and instead they were kettled for 6 hours on the road.
You would have struggled to have handpicked a better location for them to deal with than the London Road Celtic Club. Like there was no danger, there was no possibility, any bother. Like we were walking into your end of the stadium for 10 minutes, there was nothing fucking going on.
See, there's the thing. Martin, we were talking recently about how I think it was the Sturm Graz before that. You said to me, Glasgow must be a great away game, Must be a great away game. And I'd never thought about it until you said it to me, and I was like, fuck, by the way, aside from the rain, he's fucking bang on, because the Polish are too busy fucking battering us, never mind fucking the away fans, you know what I mean? It's kind of perverse how, I mean, I talked to a load of away fans. I talked to fucking Dundee United, Hibs and Hearts and all that. I talked to them, and in general, we all think the Polish are just fucking out of order. The stewards are bombs and the coppers are out of order. But I mean, that itself, and as you say, the guys who are now running our security, who are fucking, they were probably ball deep in that. So what fucking chance have he's got, man?
I mean, so one of them, your man Brian Kelly, he was certainly still employed by Police Scotland at that point. He was still a football intelligence officer.
Right.
Mark Hargreaves.
One of the guys who slinks up to you and says your first name and you've never met him before in your life. One of the guys.
Which is pure harassment. Do you know what I mean? Like coming up to people and just dropping in information about them, like their personal life or their families. Like, I mean, that's quite sinister. Do you know what I mean? And then your other one, Mark Hargreaves, I think he'd been retired maybe a week officially. Don't quote me on that. But still very much ball deep in the Polish. And also although he started officially in the summer with Celtic, he was doing a handover with his predecessor, Ronnie Hawthorne, for a number of months. So although not officially employed by Celtic, he would have been in and around Celtic for many months before his start date, seeing the ropes, obviously getting well versed in what's expected of him once he officially comes in.
Fucking minging. Right. As I say, I'm not wanting to keep you all fucking night, even though we could probably do a Homeboys extra here. We'll be on for 4 hours. But right, I've got a couple of wee things to ask you before I let you go. Right. One really is, it's more an opinion, and so the club are out to get you, in my opinion, in your opinion, and everybody's opinion, unless you're kind of biased. The club are out to get you. What's the plan? I know you can't go into kind of detail, but what's the plan? Is it a case of you kind of fuck this, or is it a case you just keep fighting? I mean, like, see with regards a young boy, the guy who got the jail, who got charged with breach of the peace, and the two boys, we don't know what they're going to get charged with yet, if they get charged with anything. Are you looking to kind of build some funds again? Because I remember you had it in the past with the Fans Against Criminalisation. It's something I think the supporters would back you about. I mean, what's it? What do you think the plan of attack should be, or if you don't have a plan?
So I'm just going to jump in here purely because I'm not heavily involved with the collective like you guys are.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give my perspective to this question, because I think the collective is really important here. I think this is all happening because the club, the board, are fearful of the Celtic fans collective. I think they've really took notice of the impact and the effect that it's having, the unity that it's managed to gather across the Celtic support. And I think what they're trying to do right now is attack the Green Brigade to try and chop off a leg or an arm of the Celtic fans collective. Maybe if they're able to keep the Green Brigade out of a certain amount of matches or maybe longer, it will quell the level of dissent or level of protest against the board at matches specifically, which absolutely has impact. So that's what I think that they're trying to do. So I think that it's so important that the collective remains focused on the task at hand in terms of continuing all manner of pressure and protest against this board. It's absolutely having effect. There's absolutely no doubt about that at all. I think the statements made by the club, loads of different things coming out of Celtic. I mean, even, and I don't want to sort of criticise the recent Christmas advert, but I think that in itself is also a sign that it's a sort of deviation from what they would usually put out, and I think that's for a certain reason. And I think there's loads of different examples of the effect of the collective, and I think it really needs to stay focused and keep going.
Brilliant. I agree with that wholeheartedly. How ironic that they're going with the mental health thing, but yet they're allowing people to be treated on their order, people to be treated how they've been treated today, and they're talking about mental health.
Well, on the collective, Scott, you and I will know, being we're also on the steering committee, so we're not speaking for the wider collective, but we're speaking for I think we can safely speak for the steering committee tonight.
I think so, mate, yeah.
But the response for everybody since this has been brilliant, I think. I was a wee bit nervous that people would maybe be like, oh, fucking, this is your battle, you go and fight it, blah, blah, blah. But the emotion that's been shown and the unity that's been shown, and I thought the statement in the letter that they put out, which I took really nothing today with, because I was conscious that obviously it was my group effectively. I thought it was really spot on. The collective obviously emailed the signatories as well before they released that, and the emails and the responses that have come in for the wider collective, for the buses and that have been brilliant and all in terms of supporting the letter and supporting the action. So I'm encouraged by that. I agree with Mike. It's got to continue. They're going to appoint a new manager who they'll be hoping will galvanise the support. And obviously, we wish him well and hope that if he can delivers on the park. But it would be absolutely criminal if the collective took the eye off the ball in terms of his bosses effectively, because they're the problem and they're not going to go away. They're not going to give up that fucking 800 grand a year job. Willy-nilly, you know what I mean? They're going to need pressured. But Mike's right, it's working. It's clearly working. They're rattled. So we just can't take the foot off the gas.
Yeah, I'd back up Beatties. I said, I kind of touched on it today. I said it with Jeanette last week. I kind of get disillusioned with the reaction, how some of the Celtic support, and you boys have been through it a million times, but I'm kind of looking for the outside, and now I'm on the inside and I'm looking at it and I get disillusioned with it. But see, when I sit and I read what's going on in the collective and I read what's going on in the steering group, I mean, you think that steering group get dogs abuse for day one? Who are they? And what rights he got to be on it? The intelligence, the acumen, the consideration of that group. I mean, see the day, I thought, like I say today, that group were brilliant today. They done the Celtic support proud today, I thought. And what I would say to other Celtic supporters is, they'll no stop at the Green Brigade. They'll go for something next. Something else that they don't want in the ground, and they'll pull it. You know what I mean? And if we don't stick up for the GB, the new, it goes back to the old adage, didn't it? I did not speak. That's basically what we're at the new. We can't allow them. We can't allow them to start picking us off. And I agree with Beatties, and I think he's a bang on the button, right? But I'm going to kind of try and bring it round to finish in a wee positive, right? And a wee positive. I asked Jeanette this last week, and I'm going to ask you two years, right? So we'll talk about the collective, and the two years are part of the GB, and I know what the GB kind of want, and I'm with it as well. I think a bigger section to make Celtic Park better, because we need to re-galvanise Celtic Park, in my opinion. But
Scott, that's another irony here, which is sort of forgotten amongst the fucking drama of everything else, is that for so long we and like boys and other fans have been shouting for a bigger standing section.
Mm-hmm.
The club eventually put out their survey. It took over a year, but then they eventually released the results. There was a clear mandate for an increased standing section, and then following the release of those results, we're now in this situation whereby they may close or partially close the only existing standing section. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's just a perfect situation for them.
But the funny thing about that survey is they took ages to bring it out, that a lot of the questions they asked are redundant, because they asked the question during happiness, and everybody's kind of going, oh, aye, which made you agree? Well, I couldn't get a hot dog last week. Whereas you do that survey tomorrow and you release it next week, it's a whole different it's a whole different set of answers you've got. But as you rightly say, there is a kind of suggestion that the support, I've been cracking on this podcast, that everybody in Celtic Park have got as old as the stadium, myself included. And I have to say that being in the collective is almost invigorated me. It's kind of got me kind of going, right, well, let's go, and I'm turning out to folk and that. But Celtic Park needs something to change it. It needs Celtic to get it going. I think, honestly, and Mark, you don't know this. I spoke to Martin a while ago. I was wanting to get a few of you boys and a couple of the boys on, and we would just sit and talk about the ultra movement in general and just how it's progressed and where it can go and where it should go. And I would dare say to you guys, you've got the standing section, and the standing sections go old as well, and maybe that needs fucking changed up and pumped up as well. But in general, to get back to my point, Celtic Park is stagnating and we need to get it going. But as you said, the Celtic fans have said they want a bigger standing section, and I bet you Celtic will just ignore it. I don't think Celtic will act on anything for that survey, anything at all. They might act on the weirdest thing.
The reason is, Scott, they're in cushy numbers. They don't want to be innovative. They want to just stay in their lane. They don't want to push it, and they don't want to take any risks. Why? And they're like, well, this is nice and easy. I'm getting a fucking inflated salary. I don't really need to take any risks. I don't need to go and come up with new ideas. They just kind of keep ticking along and hiding behind domestic trophies and hope that'll take them to retirement.
Yeah, 100%. Right. So
in terms of the collective, to answer your question, I think I don't think Green Brigade have made any secret that that there should be a goal end, a Celtic end implemented, but that doesn't necessarily need to come from the collective. If the collective voted for that and wanted to push that, then great. But I think it's a fight that Green Brigade and the boys can take on themselves. I think that for so many years, Celtic fans have missed something like this, like a fan union, somebody to hold them to account. We've been fucking like disunited for fucking years, man. Like everybody, and I include the Green Brigade in this, we've all kind of looked after our own wee area and our own wee sort of interests. And meanwhile, we've kind of in the main, there's also been things like Higgins and Fact and all that, with Celtic fans have been brilliant, but in the main, we've lacked somebody to go and challenge them on, fucking ticket prices, the state of the stadium, the football operations, the structure, the corporate governance. There's been none of that. Nobody's looked at it, really. The trust have picked up wee bits here and there, and but nobody's really looked at it in the way that we're looking at it now. And for the first time, like I say, in my lifetime, we're together, and I don't get the feeling it's just an anti-board movement. I get the feeling it's a fucking proper, collective, united Celtic fan body that can stand the test of time. Even once these cunts fuck off.
I think me and you are very similar in terms of. So my question was really going to be, what do you want the collective to achieve long term? And I think me and you, Martin, are very much in the same boat. We've spoken about it a few times in terms of challenging ticket prices, challenging how people are stewarded the games, challenging what we can get. I mean, it seems madness to me. I mean, it doesn't seem madness when I listen to what you boys are telling me about the coppers, but it seems madness to me that I can go to bowling and have a pint. I can go to pictures and have a pint. I can go to fucking golf and have a pint. But if I dare fucking have a pint at a game, I'm a fucking bam. You know what I mean? I can pay $2,500. I can get a pint. I mean, I've been in that fucking club, Celtic, and half of them are Celtic guys who and the other half fucking do drugs now. I mean,
that's the thing. It doesn't have to be the Celtic fans club doesn't have to all be about protesting, all about this fucking negativity and moaning and all that.
Yeah.
It can be fucking such a positive vehicle. It can be such a positive vehicle. Ask JP Taylor, he'll tell you the best ideas. I always remember him telling me, and I can fully believe it. The best ideas he gets about Celtic are for Celtic fans.
Yeah.
And that's what the collective should be about in the long term. In the here and now, it's about getting fucking change and getting these rats to fuck. But in the long term, we should be able to work with whoever takes their places and try to implement and make things better for everybody.
Brilliant. Yeah. Good positive end. Down with the crown. Well, men, I wish you nothing but the best tomorrow. Frustratingly, I'll not be there. Because you know I like talking, so I would have definitely said something. Anything else before I go? Before I let you go, is there anything else you want to kind of address?
Good, Mac. You want to add on?
No, just thanks for having us on to sort of share our stories and our experience. And thanks, as always, to all Celtic supporters out there who continually back us and back other Celtic fans and really buy into the spirit of unity and get behind the collective. It's really important, and I hope it continues.
Just to add on to that, actually, I would echo that. We've kind of been here before. I would say we definitely have been here before in terms of bands. My suggestion and my own personal thoughts are this is probably the fucking biggest fight yet. And while I appreciate people can get quite bored there, and it can become quite tedious, and it's the Green Brigade v the club, the support, the wider fan base is absolutely fucking pivotal.
Yeah.
So we just ask that people kind of keep up because, like I say, we probably need it more than ever. But we're not going to go anywhere, and we will, with the wider fan base, we will win.
Yeah, brilliant, boys. Thank you. In my opinion, this isn't the Green Brigade versus the board. This is the board versus Celtic fans. This is bigger, bigger than you boys this time, but we all need to support these. Martin and Mac, thank you very much for taking your time on this Thursday night to kind of get this out. Loved it, and I look forward to getting these back on. Hopefully, a wee bit more positively next time.
Absolutely, man. Desperate for it.
Cheers, mate.
Right, boys. All the best.
Right, cheers, mama.
Cheers.